my name is Luke, welcome back to Standard Digital World. Today we've got a few things to talk about. So, I recently got a Galaxy Z Fold5, so I'm going to give you my first impressions on that. It's kind of awesome, not going to lie, so I'm really looking forward to seeing that. Secondly, Google Chrome is starting to be able to summarise articles. So, goodbye reading long articles and hello getting quick summaries of an article that someone spent a long time writing, I guess. And Sony is releasing a portable PlayStation again. That's right, we've had the PSP, we've had the PS Vita, and now we have the PlayStation Portal. It will cost $200 and only be able to stream games with no local play. Meanwhile, you can get a Nintendo Switch for around the same price and play your games locally. So, interesting. So, let's get started. So, first thing I want to talk about the Galaxy Z Fold5, because I've been using it for a few days since Friday. One small caveat I have with it though, before I do any of this. So, I don't have access to an S Pen, so like I can't tell you what the S Pen experience is like. If you're hoping to see more on that, I'm sorry. I just don't have experience on it, so it's what it is. But in my experience, from what I can tell from what I've seen other people, the S Pen looks decent. I'm not gonna make any comments on it though after that. So, for those of you who are kind of unaware, so you might not know, but basically, a few years back, Samsung launched in fact 5 years ago, Samsung launched their very first foldable phone, which is a phone that has one screen on the outside, and then a bigger screen on the inside that's able to be folded. So the actual screen material, which they call ultra thin glass, but I don't know if it's actually glass or not, I'm not entirely sure on that whole thing, is able to be thin. So it's able to fold in one direction, only one direction because of the way the hinge mechanism is set up, and also just the kind of how tight the screen needs to be to the bezels. So to have it be able to fold both ways would be a bit tougher with current technology. Who knows, maybe in the future we'll be able to see one that folds both ways, but for now they only fold one way. So I've been using it for 5 days. It's not been my main, no. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 6. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. About 6 days. I got it, for some reason, yeah, I got it on, did I get it on Thursday night? I can't remember. Okay, anyway, I've had it since like Thursday or Friday last week. I'm confusing myself now. I've had it since Thursday or Friday last week. It's amazing, honestly. Like, you don't really notice the productivity that you are missing out on until you get a device like this, in my opinion, because the way that this device works is that it works like a normal phone on the outside, a squished and tall phone, not gonna lie. We'll talk about the outside screen in a bit more specific soon. But then on the inside you've basically got a full-blown tablet, so when you're watching content, when you're multitasking, dragging things between apps, or you just need to search something up while typing an email, that is all so much easier to do on this. So like, it's now getting to the point where there's kind of, there used to be like I would have given it like 3 different categories of device, and they all had different levels of multitasking. So before foldables, and before I used the foldable myself, I would have said that you have computers at the top end, you generally have a bigger screen with a PC. PC/laptop is at like the top because they're designed for multitasking. They're great. Then you would have tablets, iPads, so like the Samsung Galaxy would have the iPad as your multitasking device in like a middle area, and that would kind of like, the laptop would kind of be between those two, because it's kind of like in the middle where you've got a keyboard and you've got a touchpad, which some iPads do, which is why laptop kind of goes between those two. And then at the bottom you would have Android phones. Now I'm going to say Android phones and not Windows phone, and not, sorry, iOS devices, because at the end of the day, iPhones don't support multitasking. Do they have really quick app switching? 100%, and it's amazing. But they do not have full-on multitasking, as far as I'm aware. So just for that reason, I can't say that they're multitasking devices, because you cannot use 2 apps at exactly the same time. That's where I draw a line on multitasking in this definition. But now what I've got is this weird, I would count foldables as this weird category between phone and tablet. So predominantly they're a phone form factor when folded, but then they're a tablet when unfolded. So it's like this weird distinction that now has to be made between the two of, okay, so this is kind of a phone, but then kind of a tablet, but generally it's smaller than a tablet. So it's kind of like, it's kind of a tablet, but it's still smaller. But then it's still bigger than a phone on the inside. The Z Fold. With the Flip 5, it's a normal phone. But for the Z Fold specifically. And it's so useful, and it kind of changes the way you use your phone. Like, previously when you had something that like maybe you go on your PC for, or your laptop for, to like search something maybe. Like, I'm someone who, like, when I'm looking at like text or something, I like to have a big screen. I like to be able to see like a lot of the information. I will just do that on my tablet now, as long as I'm not like researching 5 different articles with like 4 or 5 articles spread across 2 monitors, sort of thing. You know, it's really awesome actually to just have a device that like can kind of function in middle ground between my laptop and my phone, or like my tablet, because I don't have a tablet. So to have a device that like properly functions as like a tablet but then is also my phone, and I always have both devices on me, is actually quite amazing. Because like example, actually I got an email the other day relating to university, and I was like, my first thought, because I get it on my watch, so my first thought was like, okay great, I'll have to answer this when I get home, and then because like when I'm answering that, I like to be able to pull up anything I need to pull up and stuff and just do it all in one go. But then I realised the only things I needed to pull up was a web browser, and then I realised, hey, I have a foldable. Let's open the foldable, unfold it. I was on a bus or something, I think. So I opened up my foldable, and I just started typing out my email, and I need to reference a thing in another app or something, and I just pulled that reference in, and now I've got 2 apps open side by side. It just worked. It's actually really awesome once you get into using it. At least for me, I don't think I can go back now. Like, I love using this thing. It works so well. In terms of just purely basics of what we're talking about here, it works so well, and I'm so happy with it, honestly. Again, it's only been a few days. Things can change, of course, but I am happy with what I've got, I would say. If you've been kind of deciding whether or not to get a foldable, like maybe you didn't pull the trigger with the Fold 4. It's the same form factor as the Fold 4, but I think the software experience is a bit more refined maybe than what I heard. So it's kind of approaching that point where it's like a mature ecosystem. And with Samsung, I can't speak for other devices, but with Samsung, I say now is like a good time to pull the trigger, personally speaking, in my opinion. Again, your experience may vary depending on what you're trying to do. So, that's a bit of experience stuff. Let's talk about how comfy that phone is to hold. So, is it bulky? Yes. Does putting a case on it, I will never use a phone caseless. Never. So, I put a case on my phone. Does having that case on the phone make it feel even more bulky? 100%. Is it uncomfortably bulky? Nowhere near. These foldables are so thin now, like they're almost that thinness of a normal phone. And when you think that it was only a few years ago that they were like basically 2 phones stacked on top of each other, that's insane. Like, this technology is advancing so fast that in a couple of years' time we may well have a foldable device that is as thin as one normal phone. I think that's awesome, personally. You know, it's an awesome device. It works well. Slim it down a little bit. It's good. One small gripe with the way cases work, though, they require adhesive on all cases because of the way that the screen wraps around on the inside. So you have to have adhesive. Not a deal breaker, not the end of the world, but just something people should be aware of before they go and buy one. If you get a case, you can have adhesive, so if you go to remove that case, you're either going to have to put it on really quickly, or you're going to have to do something else. Yeah, you're either going to have to put it back on really quickly, or you're going to have to buy a new case basically, or at least replace the adhesive. So there's that. In terms of using the outside screen on Z Fold5, I've seen a lot of people say it's too cramped. I use the SwiftKey keyboard, so maybe my experience of typing will be different, because SwiftKey will like monitor where you're typing and adjust the keyboard layout so that like the keys you miss won't be missed next time. So for me, when I use SwiftKey, it just kind of is learning it, and it's getting better. I'm getting better at typing on it every time I type, right? And same on the inside display as well, because it's bigger. So again, I'm kind of getting used to typing on a bigger display. It's really good though. Again, I'm enjoying it. I don't think it forces me to open up the phone too much. Like when I just want to fire off a quick text message to a mate, I can do that on the outside screen fine. If I'm sending a longer message though, I'll open it up. Yes, 100%. It is going to be more comfortable to hold with it opened up in most situations. But if it's a quick message I'm sending, I'll do it from the outside screen. If I'm playing a mobile game, maybe I'm just bored waiting for a bus or something, I'll just play like I got a logic puzzles game where like you have to use it kind of like computer science. It kind of relates to like problem solving skills in computer science, so it just gives me keeping my brain active whilst I'm on holiday. Because it just gives me problems I have to solve, and it's just really useful to go through. So that's kind of cool. But like I'll play that like on the outside screen if I'm gonna be like at home for a while, and I'm just like I'm gonna play for like an hour, open up the inside screen. Battery life, it's okay. I limit my phone to charging up to 85%. Just a thing, because like I don't want to damage the battery. So if I just limit the amount of power it accepts, then I'm fine. But that's personal choice. I basically can't talk about battery life, because like the day I got it, I set it to maximum at 85. So it seems okay. Having the main screen on does affect battery life. You would expect it to, but so I just have to plug it in a couple times sometimes. But I think as it learns how I use it, it's hopefully the same as a Pixel. As you use it more, it kind of understands your usage patterns and it adjusts the battery usage accordingly. So I'm gonna reserve battery life stuff for like a 1 month review down the line. What else is there? Let's see. The crease on the inside screen. The crease, and then let's talk cameras after that actually. We'll talk cameras after the crease. So the crease on the inside display, it's there. It's there. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Like it is definitely there. If you run your finger over it, you can feel it. If you're watching content, generally it disappears. Once you've used it for a bit, generally disappears. I'm quite happy with it, to be honest. I'm not noticing it too much at all. I literally just been watching something on it, and it's absolutely fine for watching stuff, like where the player controls are and like just about where the crease is, and honestly I'm not really noticing it much when I like run my finger over it. So yeah, it's not end of the world like some people might say. The camera the in-main display camera, this is a bit of a tricky one because like it's under the display, so the best way to kind of explain this is that the LEDs, the parts that make the display work and bright, they actually are transparent in that specific area. I'm assuming they're not in other areas, but they are in that area. And so there's a very thin grid of LEDs that just cover the camera, and you can actually see it, especially if you like look for it. Like I can literally see it right now. I'm leaning into it, but again, it's not like it's bad when you're just like sat back watching something. It's fine. If you're looking for it, you will notice it. Like if you actively look for it every time you use the device, there's no question, I'm afraid you will notice it. There's just no stopping that. But is it unbearable? No, far from it. It's not. It's better than a hole punch in terms of the distraction on your screen. However, in terms of image quality, nothing beats the main front camera. In terms of a proper front camera that's not behind an LED screen. So that's just a fact. Like, it's got LEDs blocking it, the quality is going to be lower. In terms of a front-facing camera, I haven't done much camera testing, but the front-facing camera seems decent. Honestly, if I'm taking a selfie and I'm just using the camera app and I'm not using BeReal or Snapchat, I will just use the rear camera because I can open it in a book, and then I can turn on the cover screen, and then I can just snap a photo. And just like that, I have taken a photo and I have used the whatever megapixel the bigger sensor on the back that's going to be better. It will do better processing. It will just look better. I will just do that because to me it's like slightly bigger in my hand, 100%. Better image quality? Yes. So like I'll take the better image quality. But it's good, honestly. I'm really happy with the device so far. I'll do another update in a couple of weeks or so. So that's kind of that for now. But it's a really good device. I'm really happy with it, and I've been enjoying using it so far. We're just going to do 2 more stories because that's quite in depth, really. So let's talk about Google and their generative AI experiences. So, for those of you who don't know, earlier this year, Google kind of started launching generative AI into their applications. So it kind of happened with they're doing it very slowly. They're being very sensible with how they do it. I think it was earlier this year. Was that last year? No, it was in May. Okay, I'm not going crazy. So Search Generative Experience by Google is basically their answer to Bing Chat. It's conversational AI that you can have a conversation with and it gives you information. It's not bad. I can't use it because I am a UK person and I don't have access, unfortunately. But from what I've seen, it looks quite good. Now, Google is going to be rolling out Search Generative Experience while browsing. So this is rolling out as of Tuesday last week, not this week, Tuesday last week. This is rolling out to people who are in the Search Labs program on Android and iOS first. Okay? It will come to the Chrome desktop browser on desktop in the future. We don't know when, but it will. All it will do is it will bring up a few AI generated key points from an article when you tap a button at the bottom. But it will only work on articles that are freely available to the public on the web. So they're going to try and stop it from accessing paywalled content. I don't know how they're going to do that, but they are. It's looking decent. I don't know. I haven't really had a chance at using it, but if I ever do get a chance, then it looks interesting. Let's talk about Sony's PlayStation Portal. PSP is the abbreviation. In case you're thinking that, yes, an abbreviation for that could be the PSP. Sony haven't said that, but quite frankly, that's kind of, I think that was kind of intentional. Let me just tell you exactly what this thing does. PlayStation Portal will connect remotely to your PS5 over Wi-Fi, so you'll be able to swiftly jump from playing on your PS5 to your PlayStation Portal. PlayStation Portal can play supported games that are installed on your PS5 console and use the DualSense controller. So, let's just kind of break that down a little bit, okay? Sony are releasing a $200 handheld. Right, the same price as a Nintendo Switch. that can only play games remotely. Now, this device has been confirmed to have no devices on board. And furthermore, there is no cloud streaming from anywhere apart from a device that you own. You will need an internet connection of at least 5 megabits per second, but of course Sony does recommend 15. IGN went hands-on early, and they said they could experience any latency using handheld, but we don't know. However, there's also even better news. So let's get this straight. No local gameplay, only games that you own on your PS5 that are actively installed, as far as I can see. The next part of this puzzle is that there's no Bluetooth. Instead, you have to use PlayStation Link wireless technology, which is a new proprietary standard made by Sony, and so you have to buy Sony's Pulse 3D headset. Although, sorry, you won't be able to use Sony's Pulse 3D headset, but you may have already purchased for your PlayStation console, which makes no sense whatsoever, but it is what it is. It's designed to deliver low latency, lossless audio, and is not supported by the PS5. But it will be able to be used on PS5 through a USB adapter. And of course, with the whole PS5 Slim rumours, it could just be in future PS5 models, and it's going to be available for third-party manufacturers. So, not terrible, but I don't know why they're going proprietary on this. Maybe it's just to, again, cut out latency and interference with the device. If so, kind of makes sense. One good thing though, one good thing, you do have a 3.5mm headphone jack. Considering how rare those are, I would say that's still a win. IGN's reported that the battery size hasn't been finalised, but Sony is targeting similar to the DualSense battery life, so around 7 to 9 hours. And it's going to cost you Sorry, I'm a bit tired. It's going to cost you $200 US. How? I'm sorry, this makes no sense to me. Like, okay, I understand. You've got a full DualSense controller, like, on there with a Android tablet style thing attached to it. I don't know what OS it's running. I'd assume Android, but probably not, to be honest. We will find out when it gets released and people get hands-on. It features an 8-inch LCD screen running at 1080p resolution at 60 FPS. That's basically everything we have. Okay, I'll admit, the image looks awesome. Like, the way it looks is actually incredible, I have to admit. The home screen of the PlayStation Portal is very similar to a PS5 as well. I think I don't know if it's a touchscreen. There's an 8-inch screen on this thing, and I don't know if it's a touchscreen. I would hope that it's a touchscreen, because if it's not a touchscreen, then that's going to be kind of annoying if you have to use controllers when you could literally just like tap. Because I'm sorry, but it is generally going to be easier to tap on a button than it is to use a controller to get to it. Just saying, if you want it to be fast, generally a touchscreen is better. Yeah, there's no mention of a touchscreen, so I would like to assume it's a touchscreen, but we will find out. It looks interesting. I'm not saying it's bad, I'm not going to condemn it yet, we don't know. They may upgrade it in the future with the ability to just wirelessly stream games from the cloud. Because we do know that PS5 game streaming exists, we've seen it in action now, it actually looks quite awesome. Quite frankly, Microsoft, you should be ashamed of yourselves for not doing that with your Xbox Series X with 4K resolution, although I did think they put Xbox Series X in their data center, so I don't know what happened with that. But regardless, Sony have beat them to it. I have to say though, I'm not sure in that respect, but that's kind of interesting. So that's the PlayStation Portal. Yeah, I keep on wanting to call it the PlayStation Portable because, well, PSP, but Portal, not portable. PSP 2, I don't know. We're gonna see people calling it PSP because why would you say PlayStation Portal when you can call it PSP or PSP 2? Realistically, I think that does work. Yes, it's a retcon for a name, but you know what? It still works. At the end of the day, I don't believe that this naming is by accident. You know, they could have called it something PlayStation Cloud, for example, and that would have been a different name and also more accurate probably. But they decided to go PlayStation Portal, so it looks interesting. We need to talk about Microsoft and Activision-Blizzard really quickly. I'm not going to do a whole thing on this, I'm just going to mention it quickly. Long story short, just really quick update. I think it was yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. Microsoft and the CMA both released statements at around about the same time, as well as Activision, saying that the CMA has acted on its original report and that the deal in its original form cannot go through in the UK. And then Microsoft has subsequently submitted a new proposal allowing the deal, which basically alters the deal so that everywhere that's not the EU, everywhere that's not the EU, Ubisoft will own the rights to cloud streaming games on cloud streaming Activision-Blizzard games. Make no mistake, this does not mean that these games won't be on Game Pass. They will be on Game Pass. Will you be able to stream them through Xbox cloud streaming? Maybe. We don't know. However, what this also means, though, is that somehow Microsoft are technically able to make it so that it can be... Ubisoft are now able to ask Microsoft to produce games for multiple platforms. So, in theory, Ubisoft can say, hey, we want to put this on the PlayStation cloud streaming service. Can you make a PlayStation version for us? And Microsoft has to say, okay, yeah, sure, we'll do it. In theory, I don't know if that's actually what will happen. There may be an unspoken agreement or another agreement that we haven't seen that says that that won't be happening if, like, Microsoft decides to make constant exclusive. But it depends how greedy Ubisoft are getting. This does likely mean that we won't see exclusivity for Activision-Blizzard games anytime soon. In terms of Game Pass, don't expect anything to change. You'll still see games released day and date on Game Pass from Activision-Blizzard if the CMA accepts it. There's currently a consultation period going on, which will take until about mid-September, I think, and then on March 18th, which is also the deadline of this deal, the CMA will say whether or not Microsoft can purchase Activision-Blizzard. Personally, I wouldn't be surprised if Microsoft closed the deal before October 18th if it gets too close to that date, and then just deal with the consequences of having to maybe split up Microsoft and Activision in the UK or around the world possibly, or pull Activision out of the UK and keep Microsoft operating. We don't know, we will see what happens. In theory, they could just pull Activision from the UK and then just like have it so that Microsoft just publishes Activision games through Xbox Game Studios in the UK or something, and then it's like, well, technically we're not publishing it in the UK under Activision-Blizzard UK. They could probably do something like that if they want to. I wouldn't blame them, but we will wait and see. To be fair, the press release was basically a joint statement. It seemed to be echoed across both sites fairly similarly. So it could just be that they are collaborating this time instead of one trying to force it, one and going against each other as enemies. I hope it is not working collaboratively, because this is now nearly 2 years since this was announced. Like, I just want this deal to either go through or, you know what, scrap the entire deal. At this point, either is fine for me as long as I don't have to think about it, hear about it, or talk about it ever again. The CMA is now imposing global regulations on Microsoft that will have wide-sweeping effects across the rest of the world because it wants to prove a point. That is what the UK government is currently doing. That's their prerogative, don't get me wrong. Do I agree with it? Hell no. Do I like it? Definitely not. Is that what's happened? Yes. Everywhere apart from the EU, Ubisoft will hold the rights to streaming games. They will then be allowed to license those rights to third-party companies, and they'll be able to do it for a fee. So instead of Microsoft's proposed deal of, hey, it's free in perpetuity to all other cloud game streaming providers for all Microsoft and Xbox content, now that only applies in the EU for that content and everywhere outside of the EU that doesn't currently have an agreement with Microsoft, in theory anyway. Who knows, Microsoft might decide to play good guy anyway, just to make CMA look more unreasonable, which please do, because they're a laughing stock. This is coming from someone in the UK. But yeah, I'm not happy with it. I'm disappointed in the CMA for not just accepting. We were supposed to hear on Monday that this thing was going, Monday or Tuesday, but this thing was going through. And we're not, which I'm kind of just annoyed because I was really looking forward to the whole thing being over, but we will find out later, I guess, what's going to happen. I still have hope that it will be closed and this whole thing will end, because I think even if the CMA does deny, it won't be the end of the story. So I hope they accept, just so we can stop talking about it, because I'm getting sick of it. But anyway, that is everything. So small recap for everyone who's kind of interested in like a quick 5-second summary, because that is a very long episode indeed. Hang on, I'm gonna do a... Oh, never mind. Here we go, label. There we go. Add label. Okay. So, small recap. Z Fold5. Awesome device. I'm enjoying using it. First week or so has been really nice. I'm looking forward to seeing seeing if I enjoy it later on or not. I'm hoping I do. I got this thing for 3 years, so it better be good. But yeah, there's that. Google Chrome having a generative in-browser experience similar to what Microsoft's doing in Edge. Coming soon. Again, sounds awesome. Looks really cool. We'll see what happens with that. Sony's PlayStation Portal, which, small reminder, 200 quid, and you can only stream games over Wi-Fi, no local play. You also can't do local media playback, by the way, or anything locally on devices, all streamed, so that's real fun. And then the Activision-Blizzard deal with Microsoft is just kind of going away weirdly, so we will see what happens with that. Right, thank you for listening. It's a bit of a longer episode today because first one in a while. By the way, small update. Yes, it's been a few weeks since my last episode when I said I was back to weekly episodes. Long story short, A-levels cause high levels of anxiety, and high levels of anxiety cause distractions. So I forgot to release episode of podcast. Hopefully I am back this time, but I am going to university, so things may change again. I don't know, it depends on kind of what I'm doing in terms of like getting to and from uni, whether I'm able to record in my dorm without being a complete nuisance to the people around me. It's gonna be interesting to see what's happening. But for now, my name is Luke, this is Standout Digital World. Thank you for listening.